Hi friends, this is Steven with Make It Rad. Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got something a little bit different, and I'm pretty sure I said that on my last video as well, but hey, that's how we do things around here. Today I have a new vehicle introduction, and it's not a new vehicle, it's actually one that I've had probably 20 years. I'm excited to get it introduced to the channel, so let's get going. So this is a 1994 Toyota SR5 four-wheel drive pickup. The classic Toyota body style, pre-Tacoma, one of the last years that they made this and called this the actual pickup. I've had this truck, like I said, probably over 20 years, and I've been fortunate enough to just keep it around. It's one of those things where it's not really practical for any purpose, but that's not what having these things is about. It's about having something you like, holding on to it, and keeping it all over these years. So I'd say this one is probably a survivor. It's actually was my daily driver back in like 2015. I was in between cars and I put a little bit of money into it to make it suitable for daily driving. So just wanted to do a quick introduction. That was a quick circle on the outside. Under the hood, this is a 3.4 liter 5VZ FE engine from a 2002 4Runner. It's got a wire harness professionally done to keep all the options. This being an SR5, it's actually an automatic and has an automatic from a 4Runner as well. So the engine and the transmission were updated, and the transfer case is from a T100 to make it work in this chassis. This has power windows, power door locks, power mirrors, sunroof, all the gauges, and pretty sweet overall. So I've got about 7 inches of lift. These are 35 12.5s on mid 90s weld Scorpios that just, I mean, to this day, I love those wheels and tires, and they're forged and they're strong, so they have held up really well over the years. And this truck, as nice as I've managed to keep it, it's not perfect and it's seen some use. You can kind of see that it's not new by any means, right? It's I've put over 2,000 pounds of concrete in this one time on accident. And one thing to be aware of, if you have a newer truck and older truck in the tailgate, often I'll just drop this on accident because I'm so used to the newer ones that have the little shock absorber, and don't let them drop like that. OME Dakar leaf springs. I think those are trail gear, greasable shackles, and then the front is just an old Trailmaster kit. This does have Bilstein 5100 shocks that they're not my favorite, to be honest. I think they ride a little harsh. I used to have Rancho RS 9000s on here that actually preferred the ride. It could just be the valving and the way Bilstein does it. Those wore out a few years back, so I threw on these 5100s, and you know, like I said, I think they're okay. They're not my favorite. So that's the outside in a nutshell. If anybody has any questions, if you have an old classic Toyota pickup like this, I'd love to hear about it. I love these things. Like I've said, I've managed to hold on to this over all these years, and it's just, I can't let it go. This is one of the few vehicles I've had where people have walked up and just wanted to buy it on the spot. So, and I actually haven't sold it, even though, you know, it does take up space. It sits inside, and it'd be nice to have the space back, but it's just one of those things you can't do. So let's take a look at the inside. So sunny day today, I'll try to get some good shots of the inside. This is factory, all options you could get as far as I know. Well, the one thing that this doesn't have, which sort of makes it unique, is it does not have the wing windows, whereas many of them packaged in this as an SR5 would have the window would stop here and it'd have a little wing window. This was actually a California truck originally with California emissions, old 3 liter V6. It was pretty much awful. The 3.4 swap is the way to go if you keep one of these around. But you can see still has all the door panel. It's perfect shape. Power mirrors, power door locks, power windows. Has the tilt wheel, all the gauges, SR5 gauges. Back then you actually got a volt gauge and an oil pressure gauge. The 7-way bucket seats. These are so cool. You've got 5 different settings on the headrest, and then it pops back. And then even newer cars, or Toyota trucks in general, can't do this. And there's a knob here, and this moves in from the side to really squeeze the passenger, and then it moves back out. I don't know how well that's being picked up. And then obviously there's a manual lumbar there. This has the double-decker center console, so you've got the initial one here. I've added a Toyota change holder, and then it still has the little divider. And then under that, because it's a truck, it's just got this lower, pretty deep console there. In the trucks, this was just a little cubby. I added the 4Runner cubby, which provides for 3 switch blanks. I just printed some blanks with a 3D printer. Note the USB. This has the earliest version, the Pioneer deck that had CarPlay. So this does actually have CarPlay, and it still works to this day with the new iPhones. Those of you who follow these trucks might not recognize this shifter. This is a very, very rare shifter. Most people who have automatics and do 3.4 liter swaps put in a Tacoma or 4Runner shifter from the later generation, and those work great. They're a great option. They make it look pretty OEM, but this is a rare shifter. I think they had these in the Hiluxes overseas and a few 4-cylinder 4-wheel drive 4Runners, and it literally bolts up and is perfect. It matches the interior color perfect. These are hard to find. Give you a little upper shot. This does have a dash protector. It's had one its whole life. This one in 2015, I went to clean it and it just shredded, so I bought a new one, and it has kept this dash completely perfect. I don't want to pull it off of there, but there's not one wrinkle, anything in this dash from a 1994. It's got the lights up here. Let's see if we can focus in on that. Factory sunroof, does not leak. And then being an extra cab, it does have the space back here. You can see my old speaker wire from when I was kids, and I used to have sub truck boxes. And then I wised up and I put the speaker in one of those panels that I don't use. And don't worry, I didn't cut out the original panel. I went to a U-Pull-It, got one of the covers from another truck, cut that one up, put it in, so I still have all the original hardware and the original trim pieces. It will go back 100% stock. These are kind of funny. These are those seat belt pads from like probably 98, 99. Kept those in there for nostalgic purposes, right? I've had this truck for so long, it's great to, it's kind of funny to be reminded of those. This being a 94, it does have the factory amplified rear speakers. You'll see a lot of the trucks like the 92s and things just had little cubbies right there. This has factory amplified speakers. Those actually don't work unless you plug your deck into the amplifier. I've had so many stereos in this. That's how I know that. But again, AC all works. Power mirrors all work. The tack all works. I had the 3.4 swap done by Toy Only Swaps in Oregon, and they just did a great job. They had it for a long time. We talked about what I wanted to do. This being an SR5, the last thing I wanted to do was just throw a motor in there and lose my AC and lose the tachometer and all those things. So they really came through, and every single option in this truck still works. So I'll give you a overview of the motor. I'll pop the hood and you can check that out. All right, so here we go. Probably the best mod I've ever done to this truck right here. The 4-cam, 24-valve, 5VZ FE. This motor, it's pretty much bulletproof. So much better than the 3VZ that was in here. Again, this was a California truck, so it had California emissions in addition to that 3-liter, and it was an automatic, and it was slow stock, and man, with 35s, it was just dead slow. You just pretty much floored it everywhere you went. This does have an AFE or AEM intake. That's from a Tacoma. This didn't fit originally. I just kind of bent it into place. I don't have like a metal bender, but you know, I used some wood and clamps and made it work, and it seems to work pretty well. But again, toy only swaps in Creswell, Oregon did this. You can see the later model emissions equipment. This thing passes emissions, no problem. Again, made this thing so much more drivable. That 3-liter was just so bad. And one good thing about, well, there's many good things, but one unique thing, I suppose, about this truck in particular is this was a factory tow package in 1994 with the automatic transmission, which means it came with factory 488 front and rear diff. Normally these had 410s. So with the 35s and with the 3VZE, or with the 5VZE engine, excuse me, and just a slightly different sender, the actual miles per hour and mileage is perfectly dialed. It's like a free differential regear having those factory 488s. So I haven't had to touch the diffs in this, and it's perfect. So they did a great job. You can see everything's pretty well dialed. Like I said, I did the intake on it, but they provided an intake when they did the swap. And that's about that. So things still on the list for this truck. What I'd like to do eventually is a full frame off restoration, which is why I haven't done some things. Like, people often wonder, well, why don't you have a bed liner in there? And it's always been on the list. This used to have a tonneau cover, and I had it off one day, and then my mom came and ran it over. Shows how long I've had this truck. I would love to do a bed liner, but I've always waited because I've really just wanted to pull the cab and the bed completely off the frame, do the frame just full on. It's just something I haven't done yet. I'm not sure if I'll get there, but I might end up throwing a bed liner in there. The second thing I want to do is, I set this up when I did the 5VZ swap to have it supercharger ready. And at that time, you know, it was TRD supercharger, then they discontinued it, and then Magnuson, who made the TRD supercharger, kept making it, and it's been available. But it's 2023, and rumor has it there's a new supercharger coming out for this through Magnuson. So that might be on the list. This might finally be the time that this truck gets the supercharger, and I just think it would just be perfect. Other maintenance items, I do have to do something with the brakes. The brakes are acting a little bit funny. It could just be because I haven't driven it in a while. But something I need to look at there. These old trucks, as great as they are, you know, things need to be maintained on them. So, but yeah, hoping for a supercharger, maybe a bed liner. I did order a tonneau cover that Amazon lost like 3 years ago. I just never ordered a new one. So, that's it. That's the 1994 Toyota SR5 V6 pickup. All options. It does have aftermarket paint. You can kind of see has a white pearl. It was originally white as well. This is just a whiter white with a little bit of pearl in there. But channel introduction. If anybody has any questions, if you have a 94 pickup, I'd love to hear about it. This thing, like I said, I've kept for so long. I've been fortunate to have it in storage when I was out of the country, living in different areas, and I'm just so glad I've been able to hold on to it over all these years. So hit me up if you have one of these, what you've done to it. I'd love to hear about it. And for all of you Airstream fans, check out the new tow vehicle. Just kidding. All right, friends, and all my Tundra people out there, more Toyota content for you right here. Gotta love the classics. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I appreciate it. Take care.